Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Big Gay Overalls podcast from very windy and saturated Queensland, Australia at the moment. We're sort of at the tail end of tropical cyclone Alfred. My wife and I are blessed that our house has been in a safe area and nothing happened with my mum's house because I had to relocate down there for a few days just in case something happened and she needed help, which is going to be the theme of today's podcast because it's very interesting. So let's start, I guess. So we made the decision I should go down and stay with my mum. Now, for those of you who don't know, spoiler alert, my mum still lives in my ex maritable home with my ex-husband. Um, Situation works well for them. She looks after the dogs. She can't live 100% alone. He and I have no issues. We've both moved on with our lives. Like, it's great. We're still best friends. No drama. But it's really interesting. Like, I did a post in a Facebook group talking about, that I'd done that. And someone just made a comment like, I'm still confused about why your mother's living with your ex-husband, but why does it matter? Like, literally, why does it matter? And I know that one of the founders who I'm trying to get on the podcast on one of the late lesbian groups, she moved back into her family home, you know, so that the kids could be with their dad, and she was moved out of a flood area, like, just in everyone's best interest. And all these people were like, how's your girlfriend allowing this? And how, like, people were really judgy about it. And I was like, what the actual, like, just because you're ex with somebody doesn't mean it has to be a shitstorm. You can make conscious and intentional choices, which we did, so that it wasn't, and we can all continue on with our lives. But why is it a bad thing when you're not angry at your ex? But anywho, that's not really the drive of today's episode. What I want to talk about today is the reflection and the pause it gave me being in that space. Now, I go back to that house all the time to see mum and to take care of her and do things and hang out with my dog. But this is the first time in like over 4 years that I actually stayed in the house. So I was in the spare room, I made up my bed in there and all the rest of it. But, you know, it was kind of weird for me. Like, I was returning to the past, but as my true self now. Um, and sometimes life takes us back to places we thought we'd never return to. And even though I go to that house all the time, it was like going back to my old life to a degree. And it's kind of been a really good checkpoint for me it really let me see how far I had come. And, you know, it was a place that once held me in a version of myself that didn't fit at all. And now, I can walk back in as a person I was always meant to be, but it still felt like that big disconnection. And also proof that I can revisit my past and not get stuck in the regret and the what ifs. And so Sharon and I both made the decision that mum might need some support. Originally, my ex-husband, he was going to be at work in the city, and there was every chance if it hit as forecasted, he would get stuck there because that's happened before. And then we could get cut off in our little town we live in because that's happened before and it's about to happen again. Um, so if something did happen down there, like, I couldn't get to her and no one could get to her. So the decision was made, we would divide and conquer. I would go in there for however long, deemed necessarily. I moved in on Wednesday. So Cyclone Alfred was supposed to hit like Wednesday, Thursday, and he continued to faff around off the coast, delays. And, you know, it was a bit of a like no-brainer that we were going to make that decision. And Sharon was fine to man the fort here. Like, we're up on a hill, we're going to be good. Would just be wind. We prepared the house here. I helped my ex-husband prepare the house down there on the Monday. So it was all good. But it was just like that moment of like walking through the door with all my bags seemed kind of ironic because I took more bags with me than I ever took in one hit when I left. And having to make up the bed in the spare room and realizing that while the house was the same, I was not. And, I used to walk through that house and live my life but I was someone who was trying to live a life that wasn't fully mine. But now I walk in, I'm married, gay woman, stronger, braver, and at peace with who I am. So I could look back and see the ghost of Lisa Pass, I guess, in those halls. And it's really funny, like how do I describe it? So it was really funny. So when I was still married, we'd sit on our independent couches and we'd both be on our computers or our phones and the TV would be on the background. He'd send me memes, I'd send him memes. That was basically the extent of what we did. And it was really funny on Wednesday, like we're both sitting on the couch, independent couches, and doing the same thing. Like it was just that same routine, I guess. And that was okay. Like I said, there's no drama, but it struck me how much nothing there is in that house. Like, I've spoken before. My mother and I have a very complex relationship, and she is a misery guts. That's all Debbie Downer, like whatever you want to say. Everything is poor her. This is hard. We're not lucky. We don't get this. Like everything. And he just has no get up and go. Like he's just doing his thing, and I realized like there was no joy in the house, no lightness. And then I was thinking I was like, how the fuck did I live here for, 16, 17 years, whatever it was, in this where I'm the one generating conversation. I'm the one like bringing everyone, together. And it was just a really weird thing to almost out of body to sit back and go, huh, how did I do that, And then as the storm sort of petered out a bit and was still stalling, Thursday I thought, I'm going home. I'm going home for the day. I need a day out. I'm going home. Because I'd only been there at the house on the Wednesday for maybe an hour, and already I wanted to, hit my mother over the head with a blunt object. She was feeding the dog a treat, and I sort of looked at her, she goes, oh, your auntie won't be happy about that. And I went, who's her auntie? And she said, well, you are. I said, no, I'm not. I'm her mum. Fair mum, whatever. If you're not a dog, not an animal person, that's okay. And mum goes, well, no, you're not anymore. It's like, I didn't stop being, her other parent because I don't live in the house. And I was like, fuck, this is going to be a long few days. Buckle up, kids. And so anyway, I got through that. I was like, came home and like Sharon was so excited to see me. She was just so happy. And the day I spent at home, like she was in her office doing work. I was in my office. I had a couple of client calls doing some work. Like just how much joy and silliness and happiness and just connection we have. Because, even if we're both on a work call, we'll stick our head in the office and hi, or hey, we'll just check in. Like that's what we do. And it also didn't help that by Thursday, my ex-husband had developed some sort of a stomach bug. So it's basically just lying on the bed, dying for 3 days. I eventually came home on Saturday when the worst of the storm had passed. And, man flu is a thing, and a man's stomach bug is apparently even worse. But anywho, so it was just like he was in his room the entire time, which is great because I didn't want to catch his bug. But, like mum was down in her room and I was sort of alternating between my room and the lounge room and like doing a bit of work stuff. But it was just like there's no life or energy there. And it was really a thing for me about, like, I know how good Sharon and I have got it. I know how incredibly blessed we are. But we've been very intentional about the life we have and how we treat each other, how we speak to each other, like what we want from it and like what we need from a partner and like the way that we show up for each other. Now, I'm not saying that he's doing anything wrong. He's doing the best he can with what he knows. And for years, I lived in that life because I was doing the best I can with what I knew at that point in time. And I was just, on hindsight's a wonderful fucking thing. It makes it look like, how did I not see that? But you don't. Like when you're in the middle of the storm, metaphorically or physically, like that's all you can see at that time. You can't see anything else and you're just trying to get through it, and I guess for me, like Cyclone Alfred didn't just bring wind and rain and chaos to the world, but it gave me some perspective. And, if we talk metaphorically about the storms that come through our lives, they shake things up, but we always rebuild. And whether they're actual storms or, like I said, the metaphorical ones in our lives, like we rebuild and we get stronger, we move on. Like me living in the house for 1, 2, 3. I came home Saturday. I couldn't wait to get home Saturday morning. I was in the cars, like loaded up at 7:30, like, let's go. Me returning to the house wasn't a setback. It was proof of my resilience and my growth. The fact that I have done enough work that has let me grow and be able to move forward where I can treat him with kindness and grace for where he's at. Like, he wasn't well. I made him some soup, just like, is there anything you need? And I managed taking care of stuff around the house. Like, but I didn't feel like I had to carry the load of conversation and excuse me, interactions. So I mean, I'm still processing a lot of it, really. Maybe I shouldn't have even recorded this today because I'm still pondering on it. But, I feel like, when you find yourself back in an old place rather than, and whether it's physically or emotionally, rather than stressing and getting anxiety and getting stuck in the old feelings and letting those overwhelm us, like it's taking a breath and reminding ourselves, I am not who I was when I left here. And that's a real victory, and being proud of that, like being open on about your growth and your change and how have you like dug into that. Because, I realize now like that was a really heavy environment to be in for all those years. But I didn't know any different and I didn't think there was any alternative. And that's when I often talk about like, I had the key to the closet I was in myself, and it was, I was keeping myself locked in there. So I can't really, like, I'm not blaming anyone else for what I did because that's what I did. That's me living my life, trying to live what I thought was a life till I figured out that I could rewrite that narrative. But it's just very like, I don't know, probably not even making any sense this episode. Like on the first day that I was there in the afternoon, I said to Mum, I said, "Oh, what are you and Sheridan having for dinner?" Because like I don't eat what they eat. And she straight away slips into the old shit like, oh, well, I thought you'd be cooking since how you were here. Give me a break. Now you'd swear that this woman cooks 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, and everything in between. And that's not the case. Like he works shift work. She doesn't often have to cook dinners. But it's that whole thing of like Lisa being put to work, because unless you're doing something, like me being on my computer doing work is not work because it's nothing for her. It doesn't involve her. Whereas me cooking a meal or organizing food or cleaning the house, she's like, oh, you could have cleaned the floors. Like, I'm not here to be, your glorified servant for 3 days. I'm here to help out if the storm hits. And just being able to have done enough work that I can step back and see those patterns and those things, not concepts, but just digs. And I didn't react to it viscerally like I normally do. Like normally I'd get really pissed about it and it'd turn into a thing and I'd snap back and it was just, nobody wins. But now I can just go, yeah, that's just Mum being Mum, and move on and leave her with it. So the first night I was like, fine, I'll go out and get you fish and chips. Cool. You guys happy with that? Good, I'll drive up the road. No problem. Happy to do it. But it's like the expectations It's just those layers of stuff that really just make it, I don't know, hard. But if I hadn't done the work I've done and also had the environment I've been in for the last, 4 years of, being allowed to be who I am in any given moment and whatever I need to be and whatever I need to do, then that would have been far more traumatic for me going back. It would have dragged all that baggage right there back there with me, which is not what I wanted to do. So I know people don't understand like how we've managed, all of us, to maintain a relationship that's been amicable. And I know that's not everyone's experience. But again, like I've been very intentional in trying to keep it that way. And now at the start, that held me back a lot from, coming out and confronting things. But when I eventually did, I could find a way to do it that was full of grace for him and his journey and me and my journey and protecting that. And it's always been with respect. So I think that's how we've been able to maintain that. And when people don't understand it, because I find, and someone's going to shout me down for this, and that's cool. Like at times in the late in life community, we can be really judgy of someone else's journey if we don't understand it. When people are posting saying that they're questioning, they're not sure, or is this real? Is that real? Like people can get quite judgy about it because it's not like a very straight, ironically, excuse the pun, straight linear journey. And even some of the comments I saw, like not at me necessarily, but at other people about how can you do this? This is not normal. Why would you do this? Like sometimes you have to do things that are in the best interest of the whole, being the family unit. Now, I don't have kids, but I still co-parent, fur babies. That still counts to me. And, I have a responsibility to take care of mum because that's ultimately, yes, she lives in the house, but that's not his responsibility. If the shit hits the fan and she needs help, that's not his responsibility to deal with. He's got a partner to support. He's got to also support his mother, even though she wasn't in the cyclone sort of stuff. But do you know what I mean? Like we're trying to do what's best for the whole. And did I miss my wife and the life we have here? 100%. Did I need to go away to come back to appreciate what I have? No, because I 100% appreciate what we have here and the life we have. But it did give me some perspective on my own growth, which sometimes I don't see. Sometimes I feel like I still get stuck on things, or I still feel like, well, I haven't changed. I'm still Lisa. But I very much know I'm not that Lisa anymore. Like the person who is in your ears or on your screen right now is very different to had you spoken to me 5, 6, 10 years ago. Like very, very different. So I don't often give myself credit for that growth and that work that lets me now, after 4.5 years, sit here and tell my story and talk about my thoughts and my feelings and my experiences, and not worry if anybody hears it, anybody cares or whatever, or judges me. Like it's out there to the world. And I think that growth has been, like any growth, it's been difficult and uncomfortable. But I think that digging into it and leaning into it has really helped me get further than I could even give myself credit for. And I even like I can sit back and see how much my wife has grown in the last 4 years that we've been together. Now, I'm not taking credit for her growth and her work, but I can see the amazing woman she's growing into as she grows in confidence and she's secure in our relationship and happy within herself and fulfilled. She knows she's supported to make whatever life and career decisions she wants to make. 100% unconditional. And I have the same. Like I know that. So it didn't give me gratitude. It didn't give me that, but it gave me a chance to reflect and actually see it from a different perspective and understand my growth throughout that. And that's probably just doesn't make much sense, a bit repetitive. But anywho, So yeah, that's essentially it today. My little adventure through Cyclone Alfred and going back to the past, not Back to the Future. Coming home was Back to the Future. Forget that. But it's a space I still have to navigate and walk that line because that's where mum is. Like, we're always going to have a relationship. All the animals are alive and mum's there. And whilst that's not a long-term thing for her, but and my relationship with her is challenging. It's complicated. It's stressful, and I'm grateful that Sharon takes a lot of the load, particularly as her Alzheimer's continues to progress. I think that we're going to have a lot of stuff that comes up that I'll have to work through, but that's the journey we're on, and I'm in a much better place to handle that now and work through that. So anywho, that's probably about it for today. Just a quick one. Please, if you are interested in coming on the show, I would really love to have some more guests tell their stories so you don't have to listen to me bang on every week. I'm super excited for anyone who hears this that wants to come on. If you like the episodes, please share them. If you come across a clip on socials, please share it. I hear all the time that people are like, oh, how did I only just find you? And where have you been? And, this will be episode 31. So we've got a decent amount of episodes and clips and stuff out there. So please share them. I would appreciate it. That would help me out a lot. Primarily just to get this to the ears and the eyes of the people who might need to hear some of the perspectives and might get something from it. Maybe they might feel just a tiny touch less alone. And, that's a massive win for me as well. So if you're interested, you can head over to Substack, which is where I have my blogs, and you can follow my writing there, or Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Big Gay Overalls podcast, or LK_authenticity coach, and see some of the work I do in that space. But just follow along, and I'm grateful for all of you, and I hope you're all safe. And if you're holed up somewhere still riding out the last of the storm, I hope that this has given you some entertainment for 20 odd minutes and giving you a break from the craziness of the weather outside. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe.